Ed, did you want to kick it off?
Good evening. It's September 20. Yeah. Good evening. It's September 23rd, 2021. This is the meeting of the Council Rock School District Board Facilities Committee. I'm chairing this evening, and I'll go around the room and let board members introduce themselves.
Andy Block, School Board.
Mary Ann McKee, School Board.
Mike Thorwart, School Board.
Sin Marcel, School Board.
Joe Hidalgo, School Board.
We also have Mike Thorwart, School Board. And am I missing somebody from the board? I think that's the board. We have with us Council Rock Superintendent, Dr. Robert Fraser, and our Director of Operational Services, Doug Taylor. So if no one has any further comment, we'll just turn the meeting over to Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Ed. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to touch on the typical headings, the energy management. We have facility improvements to talk about tonight, Hillcrest, Sulfinestone, and the South Synthetic Turf Project. Capital improvement project update, the status of the summer of 21 projects, and the findings that we briefly discussed on the upcoming projects as well. Some miscellaneous agenda items. We're going to talk about lead and drinking water findings and action, the Crusoe lease discussions, the Wrightstown safe drinking water waiver renewal request, a safety committee audit from the PA Department of Labor and Industry, and the Walt Snyder Stadium sound system. So on the energy management, we do continue to watch the numbers very closely. One of the numbers that we do like to really keep an eye on is the baseline energy use intensity, which is basically the combination of gas and electric per gross square foot, which gives us the absolute tracking numbers. We are at about 90 cents a square foot. We are seeing the continued increase, which we do believe greatly relates to the increased outside air for the COVID. One of the items we're tracking, and we can see that South, for one reason or another, has definitely crept up in terms of its energy usage. And we want to pay a closer attention to that facility and other facilities that we're starting to see creeping up maybe more than others. One of the ways we can do that is certainly through a dashboard system. And I've worked with Aramark to get a sample dashboard for South to see where some of these numbers, may be coming from. And I'd like to work with them a little more. We're going to get a proposal from them to prepare a dashboard for other buildings in the district that we can see at any point of the day to allow us to trend energy usage, gas and electric, separate from one another. And we're going to get a proposal for it, as well as maybe a post-commissioning for South. We have a budget item for energy management in our annual budget, and it is used on an hourly basis for exercises like this. So it's something that we likely want to consider doing. This is hard to see, but this is from the dashboard. But what this does show is the usage back 10 years ago when we had baseline indexes for gas and electric. And you can see as we go through the years, and it's very fuzzy, I apologize, but on the dashboard, it's very good. As you move across the board, the last couple of years, the gas has really increased at South and at strange times. We're seeing a gas usage increase through some months that you wouldn't normally see it climb. So we want to try to better understand what might be happening there and utilize, maybe there's issues with the boilers, the performance of the boilers, But by doing some post-commissioning work, we were able to, take a look at that. The facility improvements project update. Hillcrest Elementary School continues to move along. The exterior and interior demolition is essentially complete. The underground stormwater management system is also in place. The roof replacement has commenced. We're very fortunate. There is a shortage of roof insulation. It's very hard to get the extruded foam insulation. We do have what we need for our project, and we are working on the roof replacement in small areas. We want to keep the building dry and weather tight as we do so. We're waiting for PECO to relocate the gas line. It is impacting the new footings a bit, so we're continuing to stay in touch with PECO to help us out with that. A lot of interior renovations in progress, concrete floor infill, metal framing, and the quarry tile floor testing. Just a couple photos from the project. These are the carriers for toilets for a new toilet room. This is the large gang toilets, girls and boys toilets. Here you can see the kitchen renovation. So we've removed the floors. This allows us to put all the new utilities in, all the new floor drain locations, and then pour the new slab. One of the things that we're finding here is that they did not use steel lintels or concrete bond beams, any kind of lintels when they had big openings in walls. So a lot of these walls were just kind of spanning over where the ductwork was removed. We are going to infill these and take care of the structural integrity of the walls, but it's interesting, what happened out there in the 80s. This is a picture of the metal framing system in the library, and you can see just above those window openings, there's a line across the wall, which represents the flange of a steel beam that's carrying the wall above. But from that line to the top of the windows, the only thing supporting that block is the hollow metal window frame system. So we actually have to take that block out and rework that wall a bit. It's just not structurally sound the way it was constructed. And a lot of other openings that, we have to go back and take care of. So Finestone Elementary School is again moving along very well. We had the phase 1 building demolition complete. The temporary classrooms are complete and occupied and working well. We took care of the unsuitable soils replacement. The foundations are complete in the new classroom wing. The structural steel delivery for the classroom wing, some of that steel has been delivered. The interior renovations are in progress. We have storm piping moving along, and we're putting a temporary generator in place to expedite the construction of the new electrical room. Just some photos of that project. You can see this is the addition, the 13 classroom addition. Here you can see the new foundations and the base plates for the columns. There was a courtyard back behind this 2-story wing that we had a persistent water infiltration issue into those classrooms because that wall was never waterproof properly. But this project allowed us to get back into that space, excavate, put in foundation drainage, new piping along the base of the wall that ties into the stormwater system, so we could address that as part of this project. In addition, we're working on footings that tie into the existing building. The photo on the left is the connection that will be connected to the 2-story classroom wing we're adding. These corridors will just extend right into the new corridor system. And you can see kind of a sense of corridor below where we framed the new wall and we're working on it. This is the lower level of the building where we have the mechanical room. We've started building the new classroom spaces. This is where the stair tower once brought you down from the upper level to the lower level of the building. It was a substandard stair that did not meet code, certainly had its challenges, but this becomes the new elevator shaft for a passenger elevator. South Synthetic Turf Project is moving along nicely. Another challenge a lot of owners are having is getting the synthetic turf. It is difficult to get the product to your site. We were very fortunate because we moved early. We beat the rush and got the product, and we're in good shape there. The stone base has been installed. We did infiltration testing to make sure that 20 inches of rain per hour can pass through the stone into the underground basin system that's been installed. We did do multiple infiltration tests. We had some challenges with the testing. After multiple tests, we did determine that it is indeed okay. And we're still on schedule for a late October completion. It's just an aerial shot. On the very top right, you can see the stone that is the stormwater collection system that the turf field itself drains into. And then that stone has an exit that ties into the existing stormwater system. This is the stone base that the field is constructed on. And this is the double ring test that we actually perform to make sure that before we spend the time and put the turf field in place and put the sand rubber infield rubber mix in, we make sure that the system will perform. So we actually fill the outer ring with water. That allows the water to soak into the ground and create a barrier. And then you pour water on the inner ring, and you basically determine what the percolation rate is for that field. And that is how we determine if we will indeed meet the 20 inch per hour infiltration that we specify. So this test is important. It's performed at several areas throughout the field. And clients that don't do this, districts that don't do this, risk having a turf field full of ponding if it doesn't perform well. So this is how you avoid a major catastrophe when you're putting a turf field in. And you can see the turf is going in. Our sprint turf team is there. They've laid out the turf on the stone. And once this turf is all in place, they'll begin to infill that product with the sand and rubber. This is a shot kind of from the 50-yard line looking back toward the school. You can see the new lighting is in, and the turf, it's coming along. They actually have cut in the numbers and the hash marks. They're starting to put all the graphics on the field now. Capital projects, the
Hey,
summer.
Doug.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me for interrupting. I just wondered if this is a good place to pause for any questions. Any of the board have questions? I was just wondering, on the salt limestone project, that new waterproofing in the courtyard, is that within budget, or is that something extra?
I lost you there for a second, but I think you asked if that was included in the base bid. It was included in our project. We foresaw the opportunity to get into that courtyard and make the changes, so we were able to include that in the project, and that was bid competitively as part of the project.
That's great. And so there were no big surprises at any of those three projects?
No, the only surprise we had at Soul Finestone is the change order we approved for the unsuitable soils, which, were far greater than anyone anticipated. But other than that, no, we've been very fortunate. I do see there's some other questions, but with the format that I'm presenting, it's hard for me to gain access to the actual site that I can click on answering. So I'm okay if board members have questions to just ask them as I go.
All right,
So I just got a quick question.
Yes.
And I think
all right,
David already
we're good to go.
answered this.
Thank you.
Doug, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Again, South Turf looks tremendous. I drive by there probably 3 times a week. Looks great. Graphics look phenomenal. Knowing the prep work that goes into this, is the life expectancy still around 10, 12 on the high end as far as years, or has that changed since we last spoke about the longevity of that type of field?
No, it is definitely still around the 10 years. But all of the work that went into it to get there, it's actually an excellent question, Ed, because this helps dispel some of the there's a lot of belief that a turf field costs $600,000, but and it generally does. If you want to put the turf down and you want to put the infield mix, the rubber mix in, and from soup to nuts, that's about a $600,000 project. But all of this work we did to get to that point is an additional cost. So all of that underground stormwater detention system, preparing that 6-inch, 8-inch stone base, the concrete curb around the perimeter, all of the other work, the sidewalks and the asphalt and the lights and everything else, the fencing, the flag, everything else we need to do is certainly not included in that 600,000. So we are now, as they lay that turf on the stone, put in the graphics and put in the crumb mix, that is the 600,000 piece that a lot of people refer to. And when we replace the field in 10 years, that's the piece that gets removed. The concrete perimeter stays. You pull up the turf, you vacuum out the rubber, you pull up the turf, you roll it up, you dress up the stone, and you put the new system down. So in about 10, 11 years, yes, Ed.
So yeah, so let me just add to that. So the base or that foundation, if you will, that's under the actual turf, that's more than the $600,000 in the example you just used. What is that built for, Doug? Is that built for like a long spectrum of time? Or obviously you'll peel it back and do the adjustments as you need it and repairs. But is that like a long-term solution as opposed to when we have to change the actual turf?
That's a long-term solution. That if the earth is compacted properly, you put down the right fabric, you put down the appropriate stone base. Generally, when you take the turf up, we'll do another double ring test to make sure that that stone base is still allowing the infiltration that we specified from the get-go. As long as it does, we bring in some new fines, we clean up the top and put the turf down. So it really, all of that prep work should last these fields at least 2 or 3, replacements before you have to consider doing anything.
Great, Doug. And I appreciate that because I think that's important for the community that may be watching this or in the future watching this, that, yeah, it's a $4 million venture today, but it's built that we can replace the turf at whatever the cost is in 10 years. I mean, who knows what that's going to be, but it's that upfront cost and kind of like a roof on a house, you may be able to get rid of, put a couple layers or a couple different turfs on there without having to do the underpinnings.
Yep.
So thank you for that explanation.
It's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. And yeah, the recent turf we put at North, the turf itself was around $550,000. So it's an excellent question. I'm glad you brought that up. So
And hey, this is Robert. Just while we're on that front, can you just, we've certainly been through this several times before, but for anyone new who's listening, or perhaps just as a reminder, can you just give a quick update or outlook from a master planning standpoint for a future stadium on this site? Because that's also part of this, the additional cost here.
Sure. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the project has been built, is being built with the ability to master plan for a future stadium at South. So we have the stormwater system has been installed. We have power out to the site. We have boxes that would allow us to pull power to a future kind of team room concession stand building. We have ticket booths laid out. We have the stadium foundations will work around the work that we put in for 2,000 home, 1,000 visitor. So a 3,000 person stadium for this facility down the road. So absolutely thought about and planned in the event that some future board would like to, move forward with that potential project. Is that
So,
what you're
and
looking
yeah,
for?
I think it's just important for us to keep that. For folks, we didn't master plan this thing for a stadium just for kicks. We don't know what the future holds. The objective 10 plus years ago was turf the rocks. We're finally there. But I'll say as superintendent of this district, I would love nothing more in my tenure than to see this facility ultimately outfitted with a full stadium. So the Friday night lights and everything else that can come along, band tournaments, et cetera, that comes along with the stadium can be just as realized for our South students as our North students. So the forethought is there, as Mr. Taylor said, and my kudos to him for that.
Thank you. So I'll move on with summer projects unless there's any other questions at this time, but please, if you have questions, board members, don't hesitate at any time to just interrupt me. The summer projects, the south glazing project, the replacement of windows that were not in good shape is about 95% complete. There are some windows, they're called spandrel panels. They're the panels that have color to them. They're generally a glass window and a window frame, but it hides structure behind it. So it feels like a window, but it's hiding structure on the interior of the building. We're waiting for those colored panels to come in. When they do, we'll replace the rest of those, but we're in pretty good shape. The north natatorium starting blocks and tile work basically wraps up this week. It's essentially complete. The equipment did come in for the north admin HVAC replacement. We're going to have to work that in over a break during December, January, and the contractor is certainly willing to do that. The delivery was just late because of the challenge of getting a lot of products right now. The star signal and flasher project, the flashers are completed. The supplemental signage is completed. The signal at Star Center, we're still waiting for the ornamental poles and mast arms that match the township specifications to come in, and they will not be delivered until sometime in October. We're looking at a ship date of October 8th right now. The rain garden modifications at Holland Middle School are complete. The South Terrazzo, all of those repairs are complete with exception to a small section of corridor. Again, resin was limited. They could not get all of the supplies that they needed. So we have to come back in the summer of 22 to complete that. And the district-wide HVAC indoor air quality improvements, which is the needlepoint bipolar ionization. That project is in progress. We have completed several schools, and we've completed Star, North, South, Wrightstown, Newtown Middle, Richboro Middle, Churchville is in progress, and Holland Middle School is on deck. And that all should wrap up around November. This is just a percentage complete, which we really just went over. So as we prepare the plan for next year, we're looking at the budgets, and I'm working with Mr. Bruchak and Robert, and we're looking at where the budgets are. So there's really no numbers to present at this time, other than we're working on the plan that will be presented in October, and then again at a joint meeting in November. One of the projects, though, that as we looked at for next year that we're concerned with is the North project, the concrete columns and canopy. And I did discuss this at the last meeting. Since that meeting, Dewey has been out with a restoration contractor who performed some investigations to determine the feasibility of opening up the columns and repairing the columns. And I'm waiting for that final report to determine what the cost of this project may be. So that is work in progress, but they have come out and they tested a column, and it looks like, you know, a project that is doable. But what I want to look at honestly is what the cost is to repair the columns, to coat the entire canopy, to replace the roof. It's about an every 10-year kind of project it's looking like right now, and I want to compare that to other alternatives to make sure that we're not putting good money after bad. So we'll see how that looks as I present that later on. These are some before and after. The picture on the left is what the expansion joints looked like at South before we started the project. And the to the right, you can see the new expansion joints and the terrazzo's repaired. Turned out very nice. These are the new starting blocks at North, and the before is the starting block that you see there in the bottom right. The surface of those was very bad. The bases where they tied into the deck were corroding. We have new stainless steel sleeves that have been installed, and these actually slide into the sleeves and lock in place. The flashers have been replaced. This is an example at North of the flasher on the left and the new flasher to the right. And that's about it for summer projects. The miscellaneous update, a couple items to go over. Lead in the drinking water. Again, the requirement is that we do either test the water each year and address the issues, or we don't test and we discuss at a public meeting, which I don't really quite understand that approach. So we have been testing before we were asked to test on this. We did test and we had, very good results. We had 129 samples collected and one was above the EPA action level. And unbelievably, it was at Star Center at a new sink faucet. So we took another test and again, the faucet was above the action level. So the contractor has ordered a new faucet. We've taken it out of commission and we'll put a new faucet in and we'll retest, but it must just be a bad product that was delivered to us. Ongoing discussions with Cruza. As we know, the South Field's coming on board. Cruza currently leases the North Field. We're working with an ad hoc committee and ongoing meetings with Cruza. There's really nothing more than that to present other than we're just having those discussions. Again, an outside user group that we have a partnership with, and making sure that we share this field with any other outdoor, other groups that might be interested in the use of our fields. So Wrightstown Elementary School, we every year send test results to DEP to show that we're following all of the laws relative to the use of our wells and the sanitary system that we have in place. This is directly related to our well. We do quarterly testing. The quarterly testing revealed that we do not have any synthetic organic compounds, SOCs, which are herbicides, pesticides, chemicals from agriculture, dioxin, which are byproducts of herbicides, or PCBs, which are chemicals. We do not have any of those chemicals in the test results from our well. We typically check the box, send it back to DEP, and we're good to go. I think it may depend on who at DEP is reviewing your application, because this time around DEP has requested that Council Rock reach out to all the neighbors within a half-mile radius of Wrightstown to assess if they use chemicals that could potentially contaminate the Wrightstown drinking well, that they wouldn't leach into the well at Wrightstown. So per DEP, our hydrogeologist reached out to the 170 homeowners. In fact, they attempted to canvass the homes. They went to 40 homes and got little to no responses. So they said, okay, we're gonna go ahead and send a letter to the homeowners relative to what DEP is looking for. They received about 5 responses, 1 email, 4 phone calls, and we will share those results with DEP, and hopefully DEP recognizes we did what we needed to do, what we were asked to do. We're seeking the waiver request because we pay about $10,600 annually, for the testing. If we can show that, our well has been clean for as long as we've been testing it, and we again tested and revealed no contaminants, we'll save some money. So, the attempt was to save the district money. So we'll see what DEP responds to with that. I don't know if there's any board questions. I know there were some questions from Kristen when that first went out, and I tried to answer those. So I just wanted to touch base on this publicly in case any residents of Wrightstown are watching to understand what the history of this issue is.
Thank you, Doug. I had a quick question. I appreciate you explaining this because I think that there have been some community members who have been just wondering what this is and wondering what it means for them. And so my only question for you is, I know that the date was September 15th, but if people have ongoing questions about this, would you like them to reach out to your office, or, just what is the, for any community members that might be watching this either tonight or later, what is the kind of appropriate step if they have questions about this?
I think, Kristen, what I would say at this point is everybody, just sit tight on it and let's see what DEP responds with when, because this has been then submitted to DEP with the minimal responses we have. And if they ask for more, then, I'll work with the testing agency to try to get a more descriptive notice out to everyone of what we're doing, how we're doing it. And, we'll try to do a better job so everyone better understands what's going on here.
Okay, thank you very much, Doug.
Sure, not a problem. So Workplace Safety Committee, we have a monthly Workplace Safety Committee meeting. I chair that committee. We have an annual certification and training for our committee members. We have representatives from each school that attend the meeting. We track workplace-related injuries by category. We track our safety-related concerns, custodial issues, anything relative to safety. We keep minutes. We have bylaws. We do everything that we believe that meet the requirements of the PA Department of Labor and Industry for this committee. And by being involved in having these meetings, we get a discount on the district's insurance for complying with this. So we understand from the Seltzer Group, our insurance agent, that it's not uncommon that the PA Department of Labor and Industry perform an audit. And in the 10 years I've been here, we have not seen an audit, but we were just notified that they are going to be auditing us electronically in November. We're going to have a meeting. We provided the information that they asked for, and that audit is forthcoming. So I'm just making you aware that an audit is happening in November. I'm not sure what will come of that audit, but I feel like we've provided everything that they asked for. I feel, we've definitely complied with those requirements. This item was added kind of last minute to the agenda. The sound system at the Walt Snyder Stadium has been a challenge for many, many years. I think we've tried to include the replacement in a project or two. So this is a request to move forward with something that's not nearly as involved as some major sound system replacements that we could provide, but a system that I know I spoke with Dan Griesbaum at North that they believe will suit their needs. He did some research. He shared the research with me, and he, is asking if we can consider replacing it. This is a soup to nuts kind of replacement. This replaces the head end equipment that's in the press box. It's 4 outdoor speakers. It has the wireless microphones, the labor commissioning, the digital processor, everything that they need through the Zio group, at a price of around $12,000, which, I think we would take from our maintenance budget. The speakers actually went bad during a game a few weeks ago. One of them actually went up in smoke, I think, during the middle of the game. So I'm hoping that there's not any opposition, that I could help them out and move this forward, but I didn't want to do so without reviewing it with the committee. I do see two. Yeah.
Doug and board, I just want to echo what Doug said there. This concern issue has come before us in the past. I think we've been struggling with this system since I've been here or close to it anyway. So with this price tag, given the use that field gets, the crowds that we bring into that field, this is certainly something that I strongly support and recommend for approval.
Doug?
Joe, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, hi, Doug, thank you. Yeah, I'll echo what Robert said. When we go to the games, sound system is very important. And I was there when the sound system went down. So I appreciate that you're addressing that quickly. The other question I had was about the press box and maybe some, I didn't actually look inside, but from what I hear, it could use some maybe cosmetic or minor maintenance. Are you familiar with the condition of the press box?
Yeah, the press box on the outside had some painting done to it when we, did the coating of the stadium. The interior of the press box, is a bit tired. It's certainly not a high priority relative to some of the other needs, but we could have our own maintenance team certainly look at it. I haven't been made aware of any major issues with it, but we can certainly take a look and make sure that there isn't anything that, should be done that, and if there is, we'll take care of it.
Sure, and this reminds me of something I had said before, that maybe there's outside groups or people that donate their time for these smaller projects under $25,000. I mean, to go in there and say, hey, I would like to make that look mint, and I'll do it for no cost. But I think there's an insurance aspect to that you probably have to look into, but I still would like to, in the future, kind of look at how we can partner with local companies that might be willing to donate their services for maybe a name in a program or something. But yeah, someone had asked me about it, so I thought I'd bring it up. And since it was on tonight's agenda, I thought it was a good time to speak about the press box. But I hope we can get it done. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. And then we go to board agenda items. The only agenda item I have for the next meeting would be the air filter maintenance bid. And that is something we replaced as filters at least 3 times a year. This is for a district-wide filter replacement. So something we bring to you every year. And then probable topics at upcoming meetings. These are some important meetings coming up. The 7th of October is the board meeting where I would bring that filter approval. The 21st of October, I'll be distributing the capital improvement plan, the 10th version. And then 18 November, it'll be a joint meeting with finance, and we'll review the capital improvement projects, and I'll seek approval for the annual budget for the summer projects of 22. And that is it. Are there any other questions that you guys may have?
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. The floor is open.
Hey, Doug,
Yes.
I didn't have the opportunity to make it over to Rolling Hills last night for their block party and somewhat unveiling of the school, I guess.
Yes.
Mrs. Marcel and I had the pleasure of walking Rolling Hills and the Star Center amongst other schools not too long ago. And my compliments again to the team of folks that you've put together to make these facilities top notch. Nothing is lost on me when we walk around them. I mean, you've taught us over the last couple of years, or me specifically being on the board for the last couple of years, the terrazzo floors and thresholds and things that we've spoken about behind the scenes during your presentations, but to see them on pictures and then see them live, really, you should be proud of your work. And these guys and girls that are working on these jobs, and our kids and the administrators and the staff that are able to walk into these safe buildings every day, is something to be proud of. Council Rock, under your umbrella over the last couple of years, have put together some tremendous buildings that are safe, clean, and a real place for our kids to learn. And I'm sure our staff would say a great place to teach in. So I don't want it lost, because I don't know if I had a chance to say it, but walk in those buildings your pictures are great and the cameras have come a long way, but you walk those hallways and you get in those classrooms, they are outstanding. So please, Dewey and the team down there and just, the folks in your office all the way down should be commended for putting these things together. Soul Finestone's around the corner, Hillcrest is on, being worked on. I'm looking forward to see the evolution of those two buildings. And then we have Richboro to figure out in the coming years. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate that.
And I just want to echo that real quickly. I've said it before. I'll probably say it again because I know Doug will give me opportunity to say it again. Doug Taylor is the best in the business, hands down. We have yet to have a project come in anything than under budget and anything worse than on time and typically ahead of schedule. And we've had our fair share of projects, probably plus. So Doug, my congratulations to you as well. And Ed, also echo the Richboro Elementary piece that we absolutely still firmly have that in our plans for a summer 2023 start, 1-year project, so that project likewise would wrap up in the summer of 2024. Same time this will Feinstein will be wrapping up. But again, awesome job as always.
Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I agreed 100%. Dr. Fraser informed me that one of the attendees from the public had a hand raised, and unfortunately, we can't answer questions during a Zoom meeting. This one, of course, was hastily called because of the dangerous weather conditions. If you have any questions regarding facilities, please email Doug Taylor and me, Ed Tate, and one of us will be happy to get back to you right away. If you have any questions, Doug Taylor's email address and my email address are on the website. So thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, I think we're done, Mr. Taylor, Dr. Fraser.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
everybody. Good night.
Night.